Okay, so what repercussions are you facing by not legalizing your Philadelphia rental property? Uh, by not getting a rental license in all the Philadelphia city compliancing? What are the bad things that are going to happen to you if you're not compliant with the city? Um, I'm not an attorney. You're not a financial advisor, not an accountant. Back to the first one, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not actually qualified to give legal advice. And this isn't legal advice. I'm just a real estate broker. I own a property management company, Grow Property Management, and this is just my opinion on this. Um, I would say probably, if I had to guess, venture a guess, I would probably say a good 80%, maybe even more, of Philadelphia landlords are not legalized with the city. Uh, and quite a few of them will actually get away with it. No one's going to know that they're running a rental property. The city of Philadelphia isn't sophisticated enough yet to track down each and every person that's actually running a rental property. From my property management company, it just doesn't typically come up. So we do get rental licenses for our clients. That's part of our service. But at no point does anyone ever come and ask us for those licensing. Why? Because we don't end up in a landlord-tenant court. So the last time we've done an eviction was probably about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I think it was closer to 3 years ago, and it was probably about 3 years before that point that we did the eviction before. Evictions, believe it or not, for our property management company, and we're the top reviewed property management company in Philadelphia, so we're high volume. Evictions are extremely rare. And the reason why they're extremely rare for us is that we do, we're stellar at screening. So we avoid problems before they even begin. And avoiding problems before they even begin and managing the tenant throughout their tenancy, we don't end up in landlord-tenant court. But we have certainly gone to landlord-tenant court because owners come to us with tenants in place, and so we've had to do evictions with the tenants that we've inherited. So I have certainly have some experience along those lines. So the repercussions of not getting a Philadelphia license and to be compliant in the city of Philadelphia, you need to have a rental license. You need to have a rent suitability certificate. If the property is built before 1978, you need to get a lead safety test every 4 years. The city just changed it from every 2 years to every 4 years. So if you're not legally compliant, it is my understanding that there's two ways this can go. The one way it can go is the city can fine you $300 per day that the property hasn't been licensed. So if the tenant has been in for a full year, 365 days, that could be times 300. The other way that I've heard it go is it's a punitive fee. So if you're in a landlord-tenant court in front of a real estate judge, they can actually refund the tenant every dime that the tenant ever paid you in rent, times 3. Again, it's to be punitive. So basically, you shouldn't be taking rent as perspective. If owning a rental property is a business, you never legalized that business, and you've been taking money illegally for that business. You never made it a legal business. So it's kind of fair perspective that the court would refund the tenant all those monies that they had paid up to that point. And again, where it becomes punitive is the judge can actually do that times 3. So if you have $1,000 a month rent, the tenant's been there for 12 months, times 3, that's $36,000. So you can see the repercussions are staggering. And then the other way it would go would be if they were to assess the $300 per day. Now, from what I've seen, and this is only from what I've seen, and I'm not licensed, I'm not qualified to give legal advice, but from what I've seen in landlord-tenant court, the most often thing I've seen, and I've never seen anything but this, is the court, if you're trying to evict somebody, if you have to evict a tenant, you have to have everything legally in place. So the city wants it to be a legal rental. They're not really as concerned about the past. And that's what I've seen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen another way, I've never seen it. So if you tell me you're not legally compliant, am I going to get very concerned for you? Yes and no. I want to say I'm not going to be overly concerned because Grow Property Management, my company, we never actually run into problems to begin with, so we just don't really face that. But I know that most landlords would never have the mechanisms and the experience and the abilities that we have to screen tenants. So they're probably much more apt to have to run into a tenant problems. And if you run into a tenant problem and you're not legalized, then you have a very real problem. And that's where you're going to run into serious repercussions. So my vote is that you legalize your property, grow property management. We certainly do legalize all of our properties that come our way. We're very adamant with that with owners. And again, I just think at some point the city is going to become more sophisticated. They are going to become better and better at getting all the rental properties legalized and finding the ones that aren't. And I think they are going to start having more and more repercussions. All right. So I'm just a Philadelphia property management company owner, doing my best to answer your rental property investing questions. Happy rental property investing.